10 things you need to know before moving to Kitchener-Waterloo. I've lived here my entire life, really like the city. Please stick around. I think there's a few topics here that I'll cover that you haven't really seen in any other videos, but let's get right into it here. Yes, Kitchener-Waterloo is cheaper than Toronto when it comes to real estate prices. There once was a day where you could in fact find a fantastic deal in Kitchener-Waterloo. You could have bought a castle for $1 million. That no longer is the case. Looking at the stats for April, Kitchener, the median price here for a property was just around $734,000. In Waterloo, it was a little bit more expensive at $812,500. Now let's look at some properties that sold relatively close to each other, but of course in two different places. Let's look at one that sold in Toronto recently here, which was this little tiny house for $1 million. So $1 million doesn't really get you very far in this type of market. And this one right here sold in Kitchener. It was double car garage, detached, 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, 2,200 square feet above grade. Absolutely gorgeous house. And this is roughly what you can get for around $950. Both of these did sell within that price range. If we go down, we look a little bit further around the low 700s. We're looking at something like this in Toronto. You can get a 1 bedroom, 2 bath, $731,000. And this one, in fact, did come with a parking space. In Kitchener, you're looking at a detached house, sort of on the smaller side. You're looking at around 1,400 square feet above grade. Pretty good neighborhood. This one was located in Highland West. Pretty well done inside. Some renovations were done over time. It definitely move-in ready. You don't have to do any renovations once you get into this property. And finally, if you're looking at the very entry level here within Kitchener or Waterloo, we're looking at a condo, probably around 500 square feet or so. And this one sold for $340,000. And in Toronto, you can get possibly 2 parking spaces. Let's move on to the second category here. We're going to look at the transportation and transit within Kitchener-Waterloo. And of course, we were one of the first cities here within Canada to implement what is known as a light rail transit system. Locally, it's called the ION. It has 19 stations. It runs 19 kilometers long, connecting the north end of Waterloo to the southern end of Kitchener from Conestoga Mall to Fairview Park Mall, running through uptown Waterloo down into downtown Kitchener, finally making its way to Fairview Mall. Getting around the city is actually quite quick, and I know I am gonna have some locals in the comment sections commenting, well, Kevin, it's just, there's so much traffic nowadays. Well, compared to other cities in Canada, we are still fairly low when it comes to traffic times. Looking at the metric here on TomTom.com, the average travel time per 10 kilometers is the second lowest in Canada. Only Quebec City is faster. And if you look at other metrics like the percentage of congestion level at any given time, Canada actually ranks lowest at 16%. So getting around Kitchener-Waterloo is actually quite quick. There isn't too many places that in fact do have bottlenecks. I've highlighted a video of Kitchener and where the bottlenecks do occur. You can definitely watch that one right now if you so choose. And another thing to highlight here when you are navigating through the city is how confusing it can be at times, in the fact that it's not a grid system like many other cities within Canada, like Hamilton, Toronto, Burlington, Oakville. All of them run on a grid system, north to south, east to west, fairly simple. Kitchener is not like that whatsoever. I'll highlight here on the map. We'll look at Weber Street, for example. And you're probably reading that right now. It's not Weber, it's Weber. If you aren't a local here, you're probably saying Weber. But anyways, let's look at the map here. And there's not one, not two, but 3 times that Weber Street intersects with King Street. And the third time it does intersect with King Street, it turns into King Street. Absolutely absurd. I don't know why that is, why they decided to go that route, but that's just the crazy layout we have here. And you're definitely gonna have to use a GPS. Live here my entire life. And in fact, a lot of times I'm gonna have to use a GPS when I'm driving. Another thing to note too is we do have the Conestoga Parkway, which is the local expressway here. And it makes, traveling from city to city an absolute breeze, no hassle whatsoever. Now, the third thing here is Kitchener-Waterloo big enough? And in my opinion, yes, I think it is. I've lived here, my entire life. And there was a lot of times in the day when Kitchener was a little bit smaller of a place, then in fact I found myself going to Toronto. You know, you'd book the day, go to Toronto, enjoy yourself, see the sights down there. But in a lot of cases in recent years, I haven't been going down there. I just don't see the reason why. You get a lot of the conveniences here within the two cities that frankly you do get in Toronto. We have plenty of concerts going on. We've had the likes of Bryan Adams, and for comedians, we've had Russell Peters in town. And then, of course, local sports. I know Toronto Maple Leafs are in the playoffs. I'm recording this the day before Game 7, so go Leafs. But if you're looking to get somewhat of the same atmosphere at a fraction of the cost, we do have an OHL team called the Kitchener Rangers, and we've had some great players come through the team, making their way onto the NHL, like Jeff Skinner, Nazem Kadri, and the legendary Paul Coffey. For the older viewers, you'll know who I'm talking about. And then, of course, the airport. If you are looking to go to more frequent destinations within Canada as well as vacation destinations, definitely the Waterloo Region Airport can certainly help you out in that regard. Absolutely fantastic. It's almost like a private airport experience. It's very low key. There isn't much traffic going through there. Easy in and out access. And if we look at the destinations here, you can fly to Calgary, Vancouver, out to the East Coast. And in terms of the destinations outside of Canada, you're looking at the US, you're looking at Fort Lauderdale, Orlando, Cancun, Mexico, and even the Dominican Republic and Cuba. And another thing to quick note here is the fact that Air Canada has implemented a new system where you can actually go to the Waterloo Region Airport, check in your bags, and then take a bus in order to get to Toronto and then get your flight there. If you want to take flights outside of the country, you can do everything at a slower pace. It isn't as crazy as Pearson International. You get everything done and then you just hop on the bus and you're there. Now, the fourth thing here to highlight is the absolute immense growth we've seen here between the two cities. In fact, Waterloo is the fourth fastest growing city in all of Canada. The region on the whole, it ranks in the top 10. We had a 10% increase in population between 2016 and 2021, and it's rapidly expanding. Limitless growth here in the Waterloo region because we aren't bound by, let's say, the Greenbelt or bodies of water, because in fact it's completely landlocked. Talking about water, which is the next category, is there is something in the water, and that is the fact that Kitchener-Waterloo has the hardest water in Canada. On average, the water is 2 to 3 times harder than in Canada on the whole. And what you can find in the water is just the fact that it is groundwater. A lot of it comes from the Grand River. It's extremely hard. You're gonna need a water softener. In a lot of other cities within Ontario, this isn't really a necessity because it isn't that hard. But in fact, in Kitchener and Waterloo, if you do buy a house without a water softener, please put in a water softener as soon as possible. You're gonna need it. It's a world of a difference. It dries out your skin if you do not have the water being softened. And if you're looking to relocate here to the Waterloo region, I would be more than happy to help you. You can give me a call or book a call with me in the first link in the description. And another thing to note here as well, and the conspiracy theorists are gonna go crazy here, is the Waterloo region does not add fluoride to the water. I don't know how you guys feel about that. I know some people are for it, some people are against it, but that's just one thing to note. We're one of the few regions within Ontario that doesn't add fluoride. The next topic we're going to look at here is the fact that Kitchener-Waterloo is landlocked. We are not surrounded by large bodies of water like other cities within Canada. You know, you got your Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal with the St. Lawrence River around it. You're landlocked here, you're gonna miss the water. But we do have bodies of water, of course. We have the beautiful Grand River that runs along the east side of both cities. We got Victoria Park Lake, we got Laurel Creek Reservoir. And if you are looking for beaches, you in fact have 3 different options of lakes within an hour and a half, which no other city in Canada can really compete with that. You can go to Lake Erie, Lake Ontario, or Lake Huron. I myself, I like going west to Grand Bend, to the Pinery, to Goderich. You're looking about an hour and a half drive from Kitchener to Grand Bend. Talking about the climate, let's get to the next category here. It's the weather. And in fact, Kitchener on the whole is pretty mild for the most part, one of the more milder climates here within Canada, other than, you know, Windsor and the West Coast, Vancouver and Victoria. And we do get a lot less snow than some of our other counterparts like London, Ontario, which is located in the snow belt, but you're still going to get a bit more snow than, let's say, Toronto or Hamilton. They do get less snow than us, but, you know, with the global warming that's going on right now, we really hadn't had too much snow in the last few years. Another thing to note here is the fact that we have very, very warm summer nights, and a lot of people don't really highlight the fact that, you know, if we look at, let's say, two cities, right? Which city would be colder in general in the summer? Paris, France, or Kitchener, Ontario? Kitchener is warmer than Paris, France in the summertime. Between July and August, Kitchener hits a daily high of around 26 degrees Celsius, Paris around 25, and then the lows at night, you're at a balmy 15, 16 degrees at the coldest temperatures at night. So we have quite warm summer nights. The next category we'll look at here is, in fact, Kitchener-Waterloo is a university town. That's for sure. We have two incredible universities. One, Wilfrid Laurier University, and the other one is the University of Waterloo. And then finally, thirdly, in Kitchener, we do have Conestoga College, one of the largest colleges within Canada. And there is, in fact, a lot of students, especially in Waterloo. If you're near the university, it's pretty evident. You're not going to find anyone that isn't a student, especially by the universities there. Now, bringing me on to the next subject here, this kind of goes hand in hand with the universities and all the great talent coming out of there. The Silicon Valley of the North, located right here in Kitchener-Waterloo. We have some of the largest tech companies here, a lot of tech coming from overseas. I helped somebody recently come from Hungary to Canada. That was interesting. Again, working in the tech sector, massive names like Google, OpenText, BlackBerry, Spotify, and then of course, huge startups like Applyboard, Vidyard, and the list goes on. In terms of these startups per 1,000 inhabitants, Waterloo ranks second in the world, only behind the Silicon Valley. So that's one thing to note here, is the sheer innovation that far surpasses a lot of cities, not within Canada, but frankly within the world. And finally, number 10, to round everything out here, is explore around the cities. I think we have incredible towns and villages within a 15-minute driving distance. I think they're slept upon. Nobody really talks about it. I like going out to New Hamburg. I like going out to Baden, Conestoga. If you've been to Conestoga, you've probably seen this bridge before. I'll put a image of it on the screen right now. This is called the Kissing Bridge, and if you've watched the movie It, you've probably seen that because they did film here at that location, and it is the oldest covered bridge in Canada and the only one in Ontario that currently stands. So it's pretty cool. Take a little bit of a, you know, afternoon trip. And of course, you have St. Jacobs as well on the north side of Waterloo, just a 5-10 minute drive. And it's in fact the largest outdoor farmers market in Canada. And if you want to watch a video on that, you can watch that right here